Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be showing you every single new Nevada variant that you can play in this full Throttle season in Asphalt 9. You can find it in Chapter 2, and there are a total of 6 cars you can play in this season, the DSE Tents, the Venture, and the Hesera, as well as 3 of the newer cars, the I-8, the Apollo IE, which has been confirmed to be a Legend Pass car unfortunately, and the Peugeot Onyx as well. Now, in none of the races do you have to have one of the new cars, so as long as you have all 3 of the ones already in the game, you should be fine. So, Nevada, the most recent track to come to Asphalt 9, and those of you who have played Asphalt 8, like myself, will definitely get some nostalgia from this, because I believe this is one of the first tracks that we would have played in Asphalt 8, if not the very first one. It might have even been the tutorial. I don't remember at this point, but in any case, it was from that game, and so people who have played Asphalt 8 will probably have a little bit of an advantage in learning like the routes and stuff, because for the most part, they haven't really changed all that much. Now, I know Asphalt 9's physics are quite a bit different than Asphalt 8's, like with being able to use nitro in midair and all of that, and some of the ramps are in different places, but for the most part, like 98% of the track is going to be pretty much the same. Also, there are a few cars in sort of annoying places, and there's this weird section where even on this bit of road that I'm on right now, the game counts it as rough terrain for some reason. I have no idea why, and this part is as well. So this entire stretch from that corner up until this ramp is rough terrain, which is kind of annoying in cars that have poor nitro efficiency. But what I found that you can do is, because, well, you're going to have that low speed no matter what, and that was kind of crazy right there. I have no idea why I didn't wreck. You can just, when you're going at such a low speed, do the drift thing and then shockwave so you can get a little bit more speed through there, because when you're already going at a low speed because of rough terrain, you're not really going to lose any more speed by drifting, so you might as well. I do that later in this video in the Venture Sarth, I believe, to show you sort of what I mean by that. And no, going to the right doesn't actually help. It still counts as rough terrain going up to the bridge. This is the most bizarre thing about this track that I have no idea why they did that. I'm hoping it's a bug that gets fixed, because in no other place on any other track in Asphalt 9 that I know of is just the road a rough terrain, especially for such a long stretch. But enough ranting about that. This track looks really good. Obviously, with Asphalt 9's graphics being better than Asphalt 8, we have an improvement there. And it's just so cool to see sort of a piece of history almost, is what it feels like, from Asphalt 8 coming into Asphalt 9. Because, you know, this isn't the first time that Gameloft has done something like this. For example, I used to play Asphalt 6. Asphalt 6 was the first Asphalt game they had ever played, and Azure Coast in Asphalt 8, which used to be Monaco, is directly a version of the Monaco that was from Asphalt 6. It's the same track layout and everything. That's why there weren't any ramps on there, because there weren't any in Asphalt 6. Asphalt 8 was the first one, or the first Asphalt game to have ramps, I believe. But they've done that before. I know that Asphalt 7 had a couple of tracks from Asphalt 6 as well. It would be really cool, since now we know that Gameloft is doing this, at least coming back and remastering some of the tracks from earlier games, this one from Asphalt 8. It'd be cool to see if they did that with any other tracks from even older games. Like, I remember some really cool ones from Asphalt 7 that we had, Hawaii or Nassau from Asphalt 6. Just throwing out ideas here that would be really cool to see now that we've seen this. But I'm very happy to see this track in Asphalt 9, as you might be able to imagine, especially not being able to play Asphalt 8 anymore. And by the way, I'm only going to be playing the Nevada races in this video that were in this season. I think there's 7 of those and 4 that weren't. A couple were Shanghai and New York, so yeah, I'm not going to be showing those, but I'm going to be showing all of the Nevada ones that you can play in there. And as far as I know, you can't get into Nevada any other way in this game right now, because there is no events with it. And in the current multiplayer seasons, well, since they came out before this track was added, they're not going to be in there. So I'm pretty sure these are all the ones we can play right now. Now, 7 is an odd number, literally, and also because, well, all of the tracks that have been added so far in Asphalt 9 have had at least 10, in some cases 12, or even more in a few cases, of variants of them. And so probably there are more in the game that we will see later, either in multiplayer or in some sort of events. And I guess the cool thing about that is, well, in Asphalt 8, you only had 2 variants. So even people who have played Asphalt 8 will still have to learn the new variants in Asphalt 9. Now, they'll know the basic track layout, but there might be some ways that you are forced to go, like some of the longer ways, that you pretty much never had to go in Asphalt 8. And this is a prime example of that. You pretty much never went off to the left here in Asphalt 8 because it was longer than going to the right. And, well, now you have to go on it, so it's another thing to learn, even if you have played the Asphalt 8 one. I just think that's really cool, and I kind of wonder why they didn't go back and add more variants to some of the older tracks in Asphalt 8, but hey, we've got that now, and I'm really looking forward to learning some of these parts that I might not have otherwise. And that was a pretty cool barrel there at the end. The 3 variants that I have played on so far, and by the way, these are in the order that they appear in the season, would be Desert Life, Dam Buster, The Narrows, and now we're on Bridge to Bridge. Now, in this season, we have seen some of the ones, at least, that had some different lengths to it. This one here is definitely one of the shorter ones. You can see that distance meter going up very fast. One thing that I do wish is that they would allow us to use more cars in the game in this season. Like, for example, in the Osaka season, there were a couple of races where you could play with any car you wanted. But I guess that's not going to be too big of a deal once we get to play this in multiplayer, and then you really will be able to use any car you want on it. And now we'll be going to our 5th race, and this is going to be on a track called Desert Run, or a variant I should say. They didn't seem to be quite as creative with the names this time around, like there's Desert Life and Desert Run. I think there's another desert one after this, but that's okay. It's better than Nevada and Nevada Reverse. So some people have been wondering, what sort of car is this track going to be the best for? Is it going to be more of a top speed track, or is it going to be more of a twisty track? Because, well, there are places like at the beginning of this race where it's clear that a car that has better acceleration and better handling is going to be better at getting around those turns. But through here, you can really get up to a very high speed and stay at it. And it is a little bit like New York in that aspect, where it's got some areas that are really good and straight, but also some areas that are good for the twisties. And I think that 2 of the most important stats for this track are going to be a good drifting radius, because otherwise you see you hit the turn there and you'd hit some of the hairpin ones as well, so I think that'll be very useful, and also a good nitro efficiency as well. Not only for that section, which if you aren't able to maintain nitro throughout it, you're literally going to be going down to the super low miles per hour. Like in this car, you go down to 140 or something like that, which is almost 100 miles per hour less than the car goes normally. And so you see that this car kind of struggles in those 2 areas that I was talking about there, even though it probably can get up to a pretty high speed and stay at it at some sections like the bridge. I would consider this to be more of a twisty track than a straight track, although there are some straight sections. Now, if you're able to get a car that has good drifting radius, decent nitro efficiency, and high top speed, I feel like that's the kind of car that's going to be best on this track. Unfortunately, there are not a whole lot of cars that have all of those aspects, but that's at least the sort of car that I think would probably do best on this track. It's more geared toward the agile side, but I think that if they were to fix this issue here with the terrain, it would actually be a lot better for the more high top speed vehicles, because through this section you'd be able to get to a very high top speed, especially after this ramp. It kind of feels like that part on 1000 Minarets where you're just going from ramp to ramp and you can get some really crazy momentum, especially on the second lap, which we don't seem to have in multiplayer anymore, which is nice. But yeah, I really enjoyed that section of this track, and you could do some of the same things like here. Well, I didn't quite do it right that time, but you can do the bump there to get some airspeed, just like you could in Asphalt 8. Here, riding the wall is probably good if you're in a car with not such a great drifting radius, and you can also go off to the side on the left there, just like in Asphalt 8, so a lot of these same speed tricks that you knew from Asphalt 8 will still do well in Asphalt 9 on this track, and I think that's really cool. We have just done Desert Drift, and now we're on to the Sprint Finish variant, which is aptly named because it is the final race in the season. And I guess it's time for me to give my general review about this track. Yeah, I don't think I've said that before. I haven't really made track reviews before when the other ones have come out, but I decided to do this time, especially because this track really means something to me coming from Asphalt 8, so I felt like it would be a really good one to start that on, and I probably will continue to do this in the future. I think it's kind of fun. Obviously, I love the design of this track overall. This was one of my favorite tracks in Asphalt 8, and I like it just as much in Asphalt 9, or I should say almost, if they fix those couple of issues, and if you're in a car that is really good for this track, that has a good drifting radius, I think you're really going to enjoy it, and it's going to make for some fun multiplayer races. I'll be interested to see what sorts of speed tricks, like perhaps on the bridge. I know that some have already been made, and there my hand slipped off my turning key, but I certainly look forward to driving on it more and some of the other variants. And I decided to take the lower route there, not because it's faster, but just because, well, I want to try to go over pretty much every bit of every track the best that I could when I was playing through this. In the 4 or 5 days that it took for the Windows update to come out after the ones for iOS and Android, some other videos about this track have come out, and one of them that I would definitely recommend is TS's video about this one, comparing it to the Asphalt 8 version, just driving the DSE tent side by side on them, and it's so cool just to see the very much similarities and also any little differences, and it just brings back a lot of memories to see, so I definitely recommend checking that out. So guys, thank you all so much for watching. As we come up to the end of this final race in the video, please give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!